Hey, welcome to another episode of Mike's Collection. This will be my third video this week. The last one was about a half hour long, and I had to split it into two because I haven't figured out how to post videos longer than 15 minutes yet. So this is just another test. This will be a short video. I'll make sure to keep it under 15 minutes. And all this one is I wanted to test how I'm going to review figures on here when the time comes. I don't really have a perfect setup or a good space to do that, so I was just experimenting a little bit here with how I'll be able to show you guys a toy rather than last time on my first episode I just kind of held the guy up like this, and I'd rather avoid doing that. So yeah, for this episode, I'm not going to go into a super deep review, but I just kind of grabbed a figure at random that I decided to talk about. So hopefully this goes well. So here we go. Here's a review for you guys. So here's the figure that I've opted to do for my very first review on this channel. So this is a G.I. Joe figure, and this is Vorona. She was released in 2017, I believe. And she was released by the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. So a little background on this character. She is a member of the October Guard, which is the Russian equivalent to G.I. Joe. The October Guard was introduced into the G.I. Joe comic book pretty early on in the 80s. And this character even appeared in the animated series. However, the October Guard, none of the members received any figures during the vintage line that I collected as a kid during the 80s. The very first figure of her, and her name was Dana, was released in 1998, and it wasn't a very good figure of her. A better version was released in the early 2000s, and that one was a little more familiar as the character of Dana, because she at least had her furry Russian hat on. Now, the modern era of G.I. Joe started in 2007, and the G.I. Joe Collectors Club gave us a whole bunch of October Guard members in a convention box set in 2012. So this here is the Dana figure that was released in the 2012 box set. And you'll see there on her stand, it's green, which lets you know that she's a member of the October Guard. It says right on there, October Guard Dana. And she's got her little Russian star on her helmet there, which is removable. And this set, and probably this figure in particular, became very popular, and the set, the price really skyrocketed on the secondary market after the fact. And everybody was really looking for this figure. And it is a pretty good little figure. I'm sure that her body was made up of previously released parts. I'm not sure what they were off the top of my head, but she did have a brand new head sculpt, which is always appreciated as it helps the character feel like a unique character. So, cut to a few years later. This figure is very hard to get. A lot of people were looking for her. Then the G.I. Joe Collectors Club announced that they were going to release a version of Vorona as part of their figure subscription service. So some people were very excited to be getting Vorona, because that was the name that she took as her code name when she joined G.I. Joe in the comic books that were published by Devil's Due. And that storyline never really got very far, because Devil's Due lost the license not too long after that. I can't recall her doing much of anything as Vorona in the comic books, but this was the outfit that she wore in the comic books as Vorona. So it was a new look for her, and it was a chance for people that didn't get this version to finally own one. And yeah, it's also a pretty great figure. Now you'll see it's pretty different. They reused the head, which is smart, and you'd think would be obvious, but a lot of times when they make new versions of a character, they use a totally different head, so they look like completely different people. I don't know why they do that. But here they've used the same head, so you can clearly tell that this Vorona is still Dana of the October Guard. But the body is completely different. Now, as I mentioned before, they reuse parts all the time. That's pretty standard. It allows toy makers to get a little more bang for their buck if they can reuse parts. So I don't really mind the reuse of parts at all. I just appreciate when they have new heads. So in this case, this particular figure, Vorona, doesn't have a new head, but I don't mind that either because it wouldn't make much sense to waste tooling dollars on a new head when you've already got a perfectly good head that you sculpted for the convention box set. So as for Vorona's body, so you'll see she's got the kind of a sleek torso, and for that they used the Cobra officer here. So she's got the same torso that you'll see here, and then it's kind of an interesting choice for the legs. They used the Cobra Alley Viper, which would not be an obvious choice, but you'll see there that they are indeed the same legs. And that's the kind of stuff which I'm perfectly fine with. It's a great reuse of parts that I probably would never have thought of if I was trying to build a Vorona from existing pieces. So yeah, it looks great. Now I'm not going to take all of her gear off. You'll see I never even removed the elastic band from her hand. Oftentimes when they come in package, the guns are elasticed to their wrists or whatnot. So I still got that on there. I believe she came with a second rifle or something as well, which I've just got in my bin of spare parts. She's got a removable pistol and a removable knife on the other side there. And yeah, I think this knife looks like it's removable as well from her shoulder. And you can't quite see it there, but she does have the logo, which she had in the Devil's Due comic book, which is kind of a bird there in a red circle. So they've recreated that pretty nicely as well. So overall, I was pretty happy with this figure. I was really hoping for new characters, especially now that the Collectors Club is done, and we're not getting any new figures from the Collectors Club or from Hasbro itself. And we've known that was coming for a while, so every time the Collectors Club announced the lineup for one of their new subscription services, I was always hoping for totally unique characters that I didn't already have, because there's a lot of characters from the vintage line that I would still like to own in the modern format. But when they would do a couple, like a re-release, a new version of a character that we already had, this is a pretty good way to go, because it's a new look. It did give people that wanted the October Guard version to finally have a version of her in their collection. And you'll see the display bases are different. Their outfits are completely different. You can put the helmet on Dana. They don't even necessarily look like they're the same person. You could choose to have these as two completely separate characters if you wanted to. So, yeah, I think this went all right. This setup seems okay. Let me know what you think. So, yeah, let's call it a day. All right, so that was my quick review of Vorona from the G.I. Joe Collectors Club. That was, like I've said before, mostly just me trying to get a feel for how this is all going to work. You will see things evolve as I get better at this. So again, thanks for watching, and as always, please subscribe or comment on the video. And yeah, thanks again.